Welcome everybody to the RadioTrade presentation for the new XT660d series 446 radios. We've been waiting for some time for Motorola to develop a 446 digital and portable, and what we'll be doing through this presentation is going through some of the new features and functions and to see perhaps where they may be of benefit in the two-way radio marketplace. So if we look at some of the key benefits first, the new 446 radio is going to allow you to target your conversations. So there's some nice calling features. We can monitor and manage personnel. So we've got some monitoring and also some stun and revive features. We've got some text messaging. We've got a nice feature actually which will allow us to capture conversations, so we can actually record conversations on the radio. Of course, we've got the loud and clear audio that you get with digital. We've got some interoperability with existing analog systems, and of course we've got a really nice display on the radio as well. So let's have a look at these in a bit more detail. So targeting your conversations. We've got group calling and private calling. Of course, we've had group calling on analog, but the private call on digital is a really nice feature in that we can now really start to target some of the calls between units on the system. We've got a contacts list which will sit within the radio where we can store up to 512 contacts. We can have up to 16 groups on the radio as well, and also we can program some of the keypad buttons and side buttons for some quick calls rather than going into the contact list. So monitoring and managing personnel. So this is a nice feature in that there's a radio check. This is something that's also on the Moto Turbo range of the licensed radios, whereby a master radio can actually check to see whether another radio is on the system and switched on just by selecting the contact, pushing a button and getting an acknowledgement back, a data acknowledgement back to say that yes, that radio is live on the system. We can also do remote monitor. So again, the master radio can select a radio from the contact list. At the push of the button, they can actually switch on the remote radio's microphone and transmitter so you can actually hear background noise. That might be useful in an emergency situation or just to understand what's going on in the background environment of the other radio. There's also the ability to disable a radio if it goes missing using the stun and revive. So again, from the contact list, you can choose a radio. If someone's stolen the radio and being a nuisance on the system, you can actually disable that radio remotely. If you then recover the radio, you can reactivate it such that it can be used back on the system. The radio's got a full keypad, so that makes text messaging possible. You can send text messages by simply entering up to 128 characters per message, and we can also, or you can also program up to 50 preformed messages that you can pick out from the memory within the radio, such as can't talk now, message received, or whatever, rather than having to type. So this is something, capturing conversations. This is new to the portfolio for 446 and for Moto Turbo. It's an audio recording and playback capability. So you can record received and transmitted calls on the digital radio with up to 15 minutes record time, and then you can play those conversations back. So if someone passes you a message or is going to give you an address or a long list of numbers or something, you can record that part of the conversation and then play it back when you need to listen to it again. So as I mentioned, there's a dedicated record button on the side of the radio. So yeah, a nice new feature and something that we haven't seen before. Loud and clear audio. Well, we all know the benefits of digital over analog as far as audio is concerned. It does sound slightly different, but it's clear, gets rid of a lot of the background noise. and you know that the audio that you received is going to be clear and loud. 1.5 watts of audio output, so that should be good for even some of the really noisy environments. So a nice feature here is that within the 446 radio we've got the analog 446 channels and the digital 446 channels, and you can have both in the radio at the same time. So you can buy this radio and put it in with your customers' existing analog radios, knowing that they can migrate to digital at a later time, or you obviously can buy it and use it in digital from the start. But so there's a compatibility there, and there's a migration path that allows you to go from one to the other. The display, information at a glance. So we've got a nice display on the radio. We can read text messages, we can look up contact lists for the private calling. We've got incoming caller ID, so if someone's transmitting on the radio system, you can see which user is transmitting. We can see battery life, and we can also see signal strength. Just to take a quick look at the radio now, you can see that the form factor is very similar, if not the same, as the XT460. So the great thing is it takes the same accessories, the same battery, and will go in the same charger. So very useful. You can see the display, you can see some of the side buttons there, and on the top left side button, just above the push to talk button, you can see the dedicated recording button as well. Oh, it's also got the Motorola 2-pin audio connector. That's a standard Motorola 2-pin audio connector on the side of the radio. Accessories, the same accessories as it says at the bottom there as used on the XT400 series. So again, that's going to help with the migration path. The only difference is the leather carry case, which has now been made to take the keypad and display XT660. A quick look at the models and part numbers. So the XT660 is available with and without single unit charger. The nice thing is the XT660 is very similar in price to the 460. So you're getting a lot more functionality. You've still got the analog radios if people want to stay analog, but they've got the ability to migrate to digital at a later date. So some of the 460 customers could come straight over to the 660 now, and they've got that flexibility later on. So, quick summary. Targeting conversations, so you've got the enhanced digital calling, individual calling, private calls, something we've not had on the 446 before. You've got the monitor and manage personnel, so we've got radio check, we've got remote monitor, we've got stun and revive. We've got the full keypad allowing us to enter text messages, find contacts, etc., etc. We've got the record and playback audio. So if someone's given us a lengthy instruction or address or list of numbers, we can record those on the radio for playback. We've got the clear digital audio with a nice large speaker on there for lots of volume. We've got analog and digital capability, so we're okay for existing systems, analog, and then migrating. Another important thing, actually, that I should have mentioned earlier, of course, is that these radios have got the new digital 446 channels in them, which are considerably less congested than the analog channels. So again, where people might be struggling with licenses or on licensed systems at the moment, this gives you the opportunity to go and sell some really nice features on the 446 systems on less congested channels. And again, you can take them straight out of the box and use the radios. And obviously, the last thing, nice displays, which digital really needs. It's nice to have a display, see what's going on, caller ID, contact list, etc., etc. General specifications. 128 channels. You can see it's IP55 for dust and water spray protection, and up to 20 hours with battery save on. Also lightweight, 262 grams. So that ends our presentation on the XT660 series. I hope you found that beneficial. I think there's some good opportunities with this radios. There are some really nice features on it, and I hope you have some great success selling to your clients. Thank you for joining RadioTrade for this presentation.